It's very yeah, I like these rocks.
Excuse me, I'm just gonna slip right in here.
Well, there's a fish in there.
Alright, now inside this cavern, it stays 52 degrees year round, no matter the temperature outside. It's also drippy in spots, so you might get dripped on today. If you do, it's just good clean mountain water, so don't worry, it's not gonna hurt you a bit, just might make you a little bit wet. These are trout here that you see swimming around. We do get some brown, speckled, and rainbow trout that like to hang out in here, just in the front part of the cavern. Now the trout are actually important to the cavern because they helped with the discovery of it. Back in 1822, there were a couple fishermen outside and they noticed that fish were swimming in and out of the mountain. Of course, that made them curious, so they looked around, found an opening where the door is today, and when they came inside, this is what they discovered. So we have fish to thank for that. Okay, we're going just a little farther, but make sure you watch your heads. There are the low rocks in this section.
Here?
It's
It's like right there.
yeah.
What you need?
I like it water.
You want them all?
No.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. I'll hold mine. And you stay against the wall.
Okay, there are a couple more trout chasing each other around under this light. This is usually about as far back as they go. Sometimes we see one just a little bit farther because it gets too shallow. Now, there are 3 levels in this cavern. We're on the main level, which is the middle one. The lower level is full of water, and we'll be seeing that later. The upper level, we can see a small part of right up here. Now, if you're not able to see it, feel free to move around where you can. This is called the ballroom because it has a smooth floor, kind of like a dance floor. Now, there are parts of the upper level that are quite large and tall enough to stand in, but the floor up there tends to be very thin and would not hold our weight, so we don't normally go up there. Okay, now up above that, we can see our alligator that guards the ballroom. Now, just so the little ones know, he's not real. We don't have any real alligators in here because it's way too cold. That is a rock that looks like an alligator head, and so it's called a formation. Now, if you look, that's his nose. See his mouth and teeth, his eyes. So that's his whole head there. Now, if you notice the green fuzzy stuff below him, that's some moss. We do have some moss and algae. You'll see by the lights along the way, like this algae down here also. It grows only because of the lighting system in here. You would not normally see that in the cavern. All right, keep on watching your heads as we go a little bit farther. Now we do have some other creatures that live in here besides the fish, but don't worry, we only have little ones. We've got things like millipedes, centipedes, salamanders, cave crickets, crawdads, lots of spiders. And only between late fall, like of November or so, to early April, when it's cold, we have bats that hibernate in here. They're not here in the warmer months because they only use the cavern for hibernation. I think a couple have been spotted this year. We probably won't see any because they're small, only about the size of your pinky finger. We get tricolor bats. And if they're in here, they'll be hanging upside down near the ceiling sleeping. They won't be flying around. Now sadly, we don't have nearly many bats as we used to. because there's a disease called white nose syndrome. That's a fungus that attaches to bats when they're hibernating and it's highly fatal to them. It has killed off millions of bats across the country. So at the end of the tour, I'm going to spray down a map that has a 10% bleach and 90% water in it for you to step on before you leave. That will just disinfect your shoes and everything that you might possibly have picked up today, so we don't spread it to other areas. Now, this syndrome will not affect you or your pets or any other animals, so you don't have to worry about that. It only affects bats when they're hibernating. We're just trying to help them out. Now, if you look up above you where that light is, that's our next formation, known as the bat. Now, if you can't make him out, feel free to move around if you need to. That's his head in the middle. His wings are spreading out to the side, so it looks like he's flying. That is a dripstone formation. Usually it's drippy, but we've been having a drought, so it's kind of dry in here right now. But the way that's made is the water picks up a lot of minerals. When it comes through the mountain, the drips land on top of the big pile of gravel that used to be there long ago. When the gravel was washed away over time, that formation remained. So that's how some of the formations are made. All right, we are going up to that next slide. This is going to be trading places is better than
Outside
this.
this flat surface right here, and that's part of the bedrock development. So the original floor of the cavern, they came about 13 million years ago. We would carve out that bedrock line.
Here's a wet. Wow, what is biting me?
Yeah.
This is where the spiders are. Touch the spiders.
As that group moves out, go ahead and move up this way. Just be careful you don't get in the wrong group. You don't want to leave yet. You're on your way out.
Sorry about that. Hope you guys enjoyed your tour.
Okay, now this right here is called the deserters' fireplace. Back during the Civil War, there were some soldiers from both sides who did not want to be in the war, so they decided to hide out down here in the cavern. There was a large sandbar in this area at the time that they were able to live on and stay up out of the water. And this is where they kept their fire going to stay warm and to cook their food. Now, they did not think about where their smoke was going, unfortunately, from their fire, but there are cracks called fissures up in the ceiling. The fissures were drawing the smoke up and outside of the mountain, just like a chimney would. That's how they were eventually discovered. When people saw the smoke coming out, they knew something was going on in here, so it did not turn out well for them in the end. By the way, this is the widest room in the cavern. That's why we had a little room to spread out. Next, we're going to the tallest room. So just up a small ramp here. Everybody just go ahead and move up here to this top part of the ramp. You don't have to be in the line. Just go ahead and move in as much as you can so everybody can see. Okay, now as I mentioned, this is the tallest room. It's called the cathedral room, and it's 23 feet tall from the floor up to the ceiling. This is a big part of our upper level that you can see up here. And if you look straight above you, those are some big stalactites hanging down. Now you'll notice that a lot of them are flat and smooth on the bottom instead of pointed like they normally would be, like those. That's because back in 1940, there's a huge flood. It totally filled the cavern with water. The water went all the way up there and it broke off some of those stalactites. So that's why they look like that today. By the way, if you don't know the difference between a stalactite and a stalagmite, the stalactites are the ones that grow down from the ceiling, and the way to remember that is they hold on tight to the ceiling. The stalagmites are the opposite. They grow from the ground upward, and they might one day reach the ceiling, so that's how you can keep them straight. Okay, now I'm going to explain our next section before we go in. We're going to be going into a very narrow dead-end passageway. At the end of it, we're going to stand on an iron grating bridge, and everybody's going to have to get squished up tight together. Okay, so if anybody's claustrophobic, you don't like bridges, any part of that makes you feel uncomfortable, or if you're just not too sure about it, please go to the back of the line. That way you'll be the first one back out when we turn around. But also if you get halfway back and you decide you do not want to go any farther, which happens quite often, you won't hold up the people behind you. Because you can't turn around and go back out unless everybody behind you turns around and comes back out. All right, so if you don't want to go in the passage at all, you do not have to. We're not going very far. So if you want to wait in the sidewalk area, you'll be able to see where we're at in a couple of minutes. We'll turn around, come back out, and pick you back up. So it's okay if you want to do that. One more important thing about back there, that's where you get to touch the walls. Okay, so it's like a skinny hallway. You can touch the walls as much as you want to, all the way back. Some places it's hard not to. So that's your one chance to touch. Okay, so we're going down a ramp into the passage, so be careful and watch your footing. There are also low rocks in the middle, so don't forget to watch your heads also.
Should we get in the back? I'm scared.
This is where you can start touching all the way back. Watch out for the low rock here.
All right.
I'm gonna scoot to the side, and then you guys are gonna just keep on going to the end of the bridge as far as you can go.
Okay. Go, boy.
Baby, he might be scared.
I got you. It's okay.
Okay, come over on the side, or just a little scared.
All right.
The bridge is the part where we have to squeeze together. We've got
Don't wiggle or nothing.
people with us, so
You know.
This way.
we're aiming to get everybody on the bridge. We've got a couple more coming, if you just squeeze a little bit more. Go ahead and move it.
I'm gonna check them up in there too.
Yeah, friendly.
So scared. I'm not. Look at this.
Okay, everyone, now I'm gonna be turning on the light below you, that's when you come back here. Everybody look down. That is all water below you. There's no glass on top or anything. It's all water. That's a big part of the lower level. And it's called the bottomless pool. So this is the one spot you definitely don't want to drop your phone.
Sunglasses.
Or sunglasses, yeah. I heard there's some sunglasses down there. Okay, now, back in the 1930s, there were some workers who tried to see how deep it was, so they dropped a cable down for 250 feet. They ran out of cable, but they never did find the bottom. It just keeps on going. It's actually part of the water table of the region, so that's just all good clean, mountain water that's cooling up the bottom of the mountain. A couple divers did try to go down in '05, but they didn't get very far because it got too narrow. They had to come back up. All right, now I'm gonna turn this light back off. We're gonna turn around and go out the way you came in. Did everyone finish touching the walls on the way out? There's no more touching after this, so go ahead and get it out of your systems now.
Whitney. Did you get it?
I'm glad that is over with. Shit.
surrounding us. This gray rock is called shady dolomite. That is a porous limestone. That's the mother rock of the cavern. It makes up about 85% of the cavern. Now, limestone is a soft type of rock compared with other rocks. That's how the water is able to carve through over time and create this cavern. All of the passageways here were carved out by water, not by people. And all the formations were made by water and minerals. Now, we do not have any gold or precious gems in here, but we do have one semi-precious gemstone that I'm going to show you now. See, this is our semi-precious gemstone. It's called cave onyx, also known as carnelian. You can see it is transparent as the light shines through it. It picks up the coloring from iron oxide that's surrounding it. Now this is the low arch, so remember, watch your head if you're much taller than me.
Don't slam the wheel. You won't be able to find it. It's cool.
Okay, now this formation next to me is a big stalactite. It is called the Guess What Formation, just because it looks like different things to different people. There's no right or wrong, but depending on your imagination, a lot of people see a cucumber or a cactus, a squid, all kinds of things. Now these are green because there's a lot of copper in this area of the cavern only, and the water picks up that copper and turns them green. The water is also how these are formed. It drips down, it leaves a tiny bit of mineral at the bottom, and over time that will keep on growing as long as we don't touch it or interfere with it. Now geologists though say it takes about 120 years to make only 1 cubic inch of these formations. So it's a very slow process. Now that big one over there is called the Frozen Niagaras. It looks like a big waterfall. That's our oldest and largest formation, and it's thought by scientists to be about 6 million years old. So this cavern has been forming for a really long time in here. When you come by the formation, be careful not to touch it or bump it, and there will be 2 low rock arches ahead, so be careful as you come through.
Carry him a little bit.
The first low arch is that out of the room.
Wait, what's back there?
Don't touch it.
It's hard to roll. I told you, it's hard to roll down. Yeah. What? What, Adam? I'm not afraid.
Okay, now to my room, we're getting ready to go in the only upper level room that we go in. It's called the Gilkey Room. It's named after John Quincy Gilkey, and he's the one that opened up the cavern to the public back in 1937. So that's how long we've been open here. Now this room up here is small, but I want to let you know it is lit up. So as you walk through, look to your left at the shelf area. On this shelf, you're going to see something that looks kind of like ground beef all over it. That is cave coral. Those crystals form at the bottom of the little drip pools that are on the shelf. The smooth rock that you see is a rim stone, and that forms at the top of the pool, so it stays very smooth and even. You'll also see some more colors that you can see in the cavern up there. Different colors come from different minerals. Okay, we saw green from copper. We have a lot of white that comes from calcium, same calcium that makes up your bones. There's orange from iron oxide, gray from manganese, a little bit dark blue gray, that's from zinc, and light blue from traces of cobalt. So you can check those things out as you come through. And be careful on the stairs.
No, you can go for the dog. You yeah.
Okay, as you come down, go ahead and take a look where it's shining my light, and then just move over a few steps, please, so everybody can make it down. Now, this is as far back as we can go in the cavern, because it's the end of the walkway, but the cavern does keep going for about another 600 feet. This gives us an idea what it looked like to the early explorers who didn't have sidewalks and had to wade through the cold water anywhere from ankle to waist deep. This is actually lower than it usually is because of our drought. The pipes are because this water does supply our upstairs. There's a deep pool back there that's fed by the North Fork of the Catawba River. That's where the water that flows along the bottom comes from. And there is also a rock that was signed back in 1885 by some explorers that were sent here by Thomas Edison. They signed the rock to show how far they'd explored, and you can see a picture of it up in the gift shop by the exit door.
Does this water flow to the Atlantic or to the Mississippi?
The Atlantic.
Huh?
The Atlantic.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, now if everybody would just go a few steps into that next room, please, so the last few people can get a look. That is gonna be our next stopping spot. So go ahead and gather in there. Okay, now everybody just go ahead and find a safe spot to stand in that room. You don't have to be in line, there's plenty of room in here. Find a spot where you're not bumping the rocks, and then hold very still. Because in a minute, I'm gonna turn the lights off so we can see what it looks like in total darkness if you were in here without any lights on. Okay, so everybody stay there. I'm only gonna turn off the upstairs light first. Okay. Now, before I turn all the lights off, I'm going to turn the lantern on so we can see what that looks like they would have had back in the old days, so the other lights are going off. If anybody has anything that lights up or glows, like a phone or a watch, just please turn it off or cover it up real good for a minute so we don't see it. What we're going to be seeing is total darkness, as you can only experience two places in the world. One is far underground, like we are right now, by about 2,500 feet or half a mile. The other is at the bottom of the ocean in the abyss. Okay, now this is an electric lamp that lets off about 20 feet of light. Back in the old days, it would have had a gas lamp that only let off about 5 feet of light. So it actually would have been a lot darker than this. Remember, they didn't have these nice sidewalks. They were wading along in the water, and if they tripped and broke their lamp, then this is what they could see, which would be nothing. Okay, if you hold your hand right in front of your face, you won't be able to see it. Your eyes can't adjust to the dark because there's no light to adjust to. And doctors tell us if we would stay in this darkness for a few months, like about 3 to 6 months, we would go totally and permanently blind. Our eyes would become so weak. Now, we don't want that to happen, so if anybody does want the lights back on, just give me a show of hands. No? We'll turn them on anyway. I didn't see any hands, but we had some really brave kids in here, some brave adults too. You guys all did a good job. Okay, we have circled around. We're going out the way we came in, so remember, watch your heads on the way out.
I was just kidding, though.
Okay, now we're gonna just line up so another group can squeeze by us in a minute. If you could stop about there, just be careful with rocks. Okay, everybody, we are just gonna line up against the wall. Just gonna line up with your back against the wall. When that other group is ready to move, because there's no place to pass where they're at right now. Okay, here they come.
Thank you, thank you. All right, guys. Good game, good game. Nice to meet you.
Oh, got on your face?
There's one more.
Sorry for walking across this.
Okay, remember, watch your heads coming through. All right, now as you come by me, take a look at this crevice where my light is, and you'll see the heart of Linville Caverns, a natural heart-shaped formation. The white is a streak of calcium that is running through the middle of it. So that is the heart of the caverns. After you've had a chance to see it, just please go a few steps into that next room so we can get a full line eye. Thank you. You all have certain rooms. This is the heart of the caverns.
Only going. I don't know yet. Gotta wait and see.
As we go ahead, we will be going back under that low arch of cave on it, so remember to duck your heads. And up above that arch, you can see some interesting shapes that are made by calcium and other minerals up there. Okay, evidently it's dark up here, you all, so we are gonna do the best we can here.
Have a group that's gonna pass us by, so we'll kind of head in here, let's make room for them to go by. Hey, let there be light.
Okay, we're good. See where it's at.
Okay, if you could go just a couple of steps over here this way, please, so the whole group can fit in. Okay, we're gonna look at one more thing on our way out here. This high shelf with, well, it usually has a lot of water on it. Right now, I think it's down to a tiny puddle. But this is called a bedrock table. This is where the main level or the stream bed of the cavern would have been millions of years ago. Okay, so this is bedrock that's holding it up. Bedrock is much harder than limestone, so when the limestone is eroded down, that stayed up there. Okay, if everybody in my group, you go back to the right, along the chain, we're
You
gonna
guys will
have
stay up against the
another
wall
group.
and follow me this way.
Inside a mountain.
And out and then
We're inside a mountain. Inside.
yeah, like out.
What you do?
Up here and then everybody can come out.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
All right, we're gonna let everybody catch up here and wind up our tour. Now, you may or may not recognize, we're back at our first stop, so that means we're getting to the end as we circled around. I do have one question before you all leave today. Did anybody get dripped on?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Well, those drips are called cave kisses, and they're supposed to bring you 3 days of good luck. So I hope you get your good luck when you leave today. And 3 days is also how long it takes that drip to make it all the way through the mountain and be able to drip on top of us. So those are some hard-working drips there. Okay, I hope that you all enjoyed your tour today. And I want to thank all of you for coming. Did anybody have any questions before you leave? Any other questions? No? Okay. All right, well, when we go back outside, I'm just going to ask you to stop at the top of the ramp so I can spray that mat down for you. When you get to it, all you got to do is step on it, step off. You don't have to rub your feet or do anything fancy. Okay, let's head on out and see how warm it's getting out there.